Hi. So today the problem we have is from the top of a 30-meter cliff, a stone is dropped. So we have a cliff. So I always suggest that you draw a representative diagram of what is given in the question. So we are dropping a stone from there. So that means the initial velocity is 0 and the height of the cliff is 30 meters. At the same instance, another stone is projected vertically up from the ground with a speed of 30. So we have this one, which is going up with a velocity of 30 meters per second. After how much time and at what height from the ground will the two stones cross each other? So let's assume that they are crossing each other at time t equals to t, and this was allowed to fall at t equal to 0, and this is allowed to fall at t equal to 0. So they are crossing each other at time t equal to t. So let's consider that this has undergone a displacement s1 and this has undergone a displacement of s2 during the period t, right? Both of them are motion under gravity, and we can just by looking at the diagram. So this is the reason why you should draw a diagram. Just by looking at the diagram, we can see that s1 plus s2 is equal to 30 meters, right? So we have four equations, right? First equation is Vf equals to Vi plus At. Second equation is Vf squared equals to Vi squared plus 2a delta x. Third equation is delta x equals to Vit plus half At squared. And the fourth equation is delta x equals to Vi plus Vf divided by 2t. So in this case, let's call this the object A. Let's call this object B, right? So for object A, I'm going to use this equation. So the reason why I'm using this equation is because we have to incorporate the displacement. We have to incorporate the initial velocity. We have to somehow incorporate the time as well, so that we can do the same for B, and we can add those two equations and we can make that equal to 30 so that we can find the time. Because in this question, we have two unknowns, right? So the first unknown is, so it might seem like we have three unknowns because you can see that S1, S2, and T are three unknowns, but in real life, S2 is nothing but 30 minus of S1. So we have S1 and T as the two unknowns, right? So if you have two unknowns, we should have two equations to solve. Whatever the how many unknowns you have, you need that many equations to solve it. Otherwise, you are going to either have too many or infinite number of solutions, or you will be able to get an answer. So I'm going to use it for object A. The equation that I'm going to use is delta x equals to Vit plus half At squared, and I'm going to use it in the downwards direction since it is moving downwards. It is not the reason or logical reason why I'm using it in the downward direction, but at this point, you should understand you can use it at any direction as you want. So for A, the displacement is S2. It is in the downwards direction, so it is positive. Initial velocity is 0, half. Acceleration due to gravity, they have asked you to consider it as 10, so it is 10 and it is t squared. So it is nothing but 5t squared. So that I'm going to mark it as my first equation. The second equation I have, I can write it is for B, and I'm going to use it in the same direction, or maybe you can use it in the other direction as well. So I'm going to use it in the other direction for a change. So it is delta x equals to Vit plus half At squared. So the displacement is S1. Velocity is in the upward direction, so it is positive. Time I do not know, plus half. In this case, minus 10. Why minus 10? That's because the gravitational acceleration is pointing downwards, right? And I'm considering anything up as positive. So that is minus 10 and t squared. So that is 30t minus 5t squared, which is my second equation. So now that I have two equations, and it is evident that just by looking at it, we can see that if I add first equation and the second equation, I can get rid of this 5t squared and minus 5t squared. So I'm going to add my first equation with the second equation. So I will get S1 plus S2 equals to 30t minus 5t squared plus 5t squared. So these two will get cancelled to each other. So what is S1 plus S2? So we know S1 plus S2 is 30. So 30 equals to 30t. So from here, I can find t as 1 second. So they are going to meet across each other in 1 seconds. Then we have to find at what height from the ground they are crossing, which is S1. So we can find S1 by substituting t as 1 in this equation. So I'm going to substitute that. So S1 is equals to 30 times 1 minus 5 times 1 squared, which is 25 meters. So it is going to meet or cross each other at 25 meters from the ground level. So the other one is going to be 5 meters, right? If you have any doubts, please ask, or we'll move on to the next example.